From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of My Burbank Talks, presented by the staff of My Burbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hello, everybody. Craig Sherwood here, along with Ross Benson.
Here I am. Oh,
Ross is doing his first gig as the editor tonight. He's a camera switcher, so let's hope he has a...
boy, this is fun. Lots of buttons to push.
Lots of buttons. We're live with you on Twitter and on YouTube. And so if you were listening to our live broadcast tonight, thank you very much.
Yep, my heart's ticking. We're live.
We'll try to keep you awake for the next hour.
We got a lot of stuff. Burbank's been busy.
Burbank's always busy.
Oh, you're right.
People don't realize how busy Burbank. That's why they listen to our show. They always find out really what's been going on and what's going to happen. So
true. You know, we even get emails.
Yep. Well, here's our September 18th edition. So back to last Monday, which is September 11th. We had in the morning, of course, the September 11th ceremony.
Remembrance.
Yes, which we actually did a little video and a little photo gallery on, which you can look on the website for, or on YouTube for the video.
Yeah, you know, I covered that, and I'll tell you, it's always touching. You know, the guys stand to attention, and you think about that day, and there weren't a lot of people in the audience, but people did come out.
Yeah, and over the weekend, we actually had our mayor, who was participating in a Democratic fundraiser in Santa Clarita, had a little incident with a video, and it was kind of the news of the week in Burbank. So we actually had the mayor on earlier tonight, and we did a full podcast with him. I think it took around 50 minutes. We asked him every question we wanted to ask. The rules were, we don't tell you the questions in advance.
No holds barred.
And we're going to be, no holds barred. We're going to be very direct with you. And he did a great job of answering all the questions. He was honest. He stuck to his guns. He explained himself, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with what the results. So our podcast will be posted tomorrow, which will be September 19th. We will going to post that podcast on all our platforms and on YouTube. And we invite you to check that out and listen to what the mayor has to say. So it was a very good, informative podcast, and I commend him for coming on and going through all of that. It wasn't fun, but it was, I think, necessary for everybody to understand the facts and his opinions on it.
You know, we were the first. He said, there was an article in the LA Times the other day, but he said to us tonight that he sat back for a couple of days, and he felt that he wanted to speak to Burbank, and we have done his mayor's show, and he was honorable to live up to his commitment of coming in and joining us tonight. And it sounds like we have a UFO in our office.
Yes, it does. Our friendly Dodger dog is dodging around with the one squeaky ball he got for a toy. Anyhow.
Well, let's move on to Tuesday, because there was
a council meeting, and believe it or not, there's the city business going on. To start with, they were supposed to have in closed session in the meeting talk about the district mapping, which they had pushed back from another council meeting. And it turned out the consultant that they hired was not available to come that night. So once again, they have now pushed it to a further agenda down the road. So we did not talk about maps and districts yet.
Well, and they said it wasn't the last second. They put it. They posted
the day before they announced. Yeah,
and they posted it on the agenda that they weren't going to be there. So, but moving on.
Then we had the controversy over the mayor and his actions and fallout. The council members all talked about it. We did post a video. And we just started posting a video about what every council member had to say at the meeting. So once again, not to paraphrase anything, but we actually did talk about it. The council also adopted the Burbank Tenant Protections Urgency Ordinance.
Now, that was a big thing on the agenda.
Right. That was also a big thing. The meeting could have gone until wee hours of the morning if the maps had stayed on the agenda. But they, the urgency ordinance went into effect immediately. It's not, not the first of the year or something. It's immediate. Basically, it introduces heightened protections for no-fault, just cause evictions related to demolitions and substantial remodels. So the ordinance is going to require a landlord to obtain permits for demolition or substantial remodeling and provide 3 months of relocation assistance to tenants impacted by a no-fault, just cause eviction, specifically due to substantial remodels. For other all no-fault cause evictions, the relocation payment remains at the previous standard of 1 month's current rent. So right now, if it's relocation because of renovations, it's 3 months of rent. Now, Ross, you went through this, what, a year or two ago, and you got zero assistance whatsoever. So I'm a homeowner. I don't really, what, doesn't matter to me much. But what's your feeling on it, being a renter and having gone through this situation before?
Being a tenant, I'll tell you, you don't have a lot of rights. And especially here in Burbank, the property owner where I lived wanted to kick us all out, which he did. I was there for 7 years. My neighbor above me was a 7-year resident. And we all got bounced. We lost our security deposits. They had no plans. This was a couple years ago. What's nice about this new Burbank Tenant Protection Urgency Ordinance is the landlord has to get permits prior to bouncing people out.
Which is important because they can't just say, we're going to do this, and then they never do it.
Well, they'll go in and put a coat of paint on 2 doors.
Right. They have to have show. And but get the permits, which is going to cost them money to get those permits. So
exactly,
they've got to be all in to do this.
Yep, and I think it's not, and we're not talking about the mom and pop landlords because they're usually very honest. It's some of these large companies that they don't care.
These and they're not even Burbank corporations.
Exactly. So I watched this part of the council the meeting. I'm glad it was passed with some limitations and so forth. So we have the article. It is in effect. It's on myburbank.com. Take a peek at it.
Yeah, we actually posted the city's version of it. So they, that's exactly the way they wrote it. So I think it's something, I'm not sure I'm really for rent control in Burbank. I think it's a slippery slope. I mean, I can see rent control if it's over 20 units. But for anything under 20 units, you're messing with people's retirement. If the cost of living and taxes go up 8-9%, and you can only raise your rent 6%, how many years of losing 3% until you finally just are going to lose your investment completely? So I understand the fact of why it's hard on landlords.
I can state, as of August 1st, I got a very large $300 rent increase.
Which is what percent?
It was 9.825 because they could have gone 10%.
Okay.
But that's a big chunk. And August was the same time Burbank Water and Power and Burbank Electric, their rates went up.
Yeah.
So it was a sock me wamba ba boom boom.
And $300 a month. You're talking $3,600 a year.
Yep. So I'm very sensitive to this whole landlord thing and paying. And yes, I rent. So kind of. I'm glad they moved along with it. So.
Well, I think our economy is going to be in a very interesting place for the next couple of years, with everybody demanding their higher salaries, the cost of everything going up sky high, gasoline, everything else. And at what point is this all going to, the bow going to break? I can see a huge correction coming of some kind in the next 10 years.
Oh, it's going to have to.
Burbank 2035 might be in shambles by the economy by then.
So, but moving on for the week of the
right. Also on Tuesday night, during the council meeting, there was an armed robbery at the Rite Aid.
Don't we have a sound effect for that one?
Yes. Well, actually, we don't have a. We have the police responding.
That one is perfect because they did respond.
They did respond. They had an armed robbery at Rite Aid, Hollywood, and Magnolia, and evidently it was 3 masked men coming in at gunpoint, robbing the location at their safes and their registers of all their cash, and they actually pistol whipped one of the employees, one of the clerks there. I was told by customers, one of the gentlemen, and he had to be transferred to the hospital. So, yeah, that's tragic, and I know that all the drugstores are robbed often now for cosmetics. That's
one of the items they're going in and taking.
But they just grab them off the shelf and run out the door. This is actual. It was guns, and we want your money.
Yep.
And a little interesting for the location. Usually, those kind of armed robberies take place near freeways, because the guy likes to, especially at banks, because they like to say, "Okay, we'll rob it, get in the car, and we jump on the freeway. Right, we're not in the streets where where the police can see us. We're on the freeway immediately, and we're out of town."
Literally out of town, and you know what? Right down Hollywood Way, you're either going westbound or eastbound.
Yeah,
going eastbound, you're heading to downtown.
We don't know which way they went because we're not supplied with that information, so we couldn't hear it. So,
and Wednesday was a pretty quiet day.
Wednesday was a quiet day. Thursday, we had a release come out, actually from the Media City Animal Hospital. I don't know why it didn't come from the city of Burbank or the animal shelter, but the Media City Animal Hospital put out that they were informed by the Los Angeles Public Health Department that a rabid bat was found on East Grinnell Drive on August 28th.
Rapid or rabid?
Rabid.
Rabid.
You must have been rapid too. He was a quick rabid bat.
Well, living up on the hill, I go out at night and I see these bats flying around. They're pretty common up there.
Well, they're in a lot of places. I know that on the baseball fields at the 2 high schools, when the lights go out, you see a lot of them flying around and all that stuff.
And you can hear them.
Yep.
They squeak.
So they want to make sure that people don't, try to pick one up or anything else. They say if it's in your house, call the animal shelter, have them come and test it and see if it's what shape it's in. But you got to be aware of that. Also on Thursday, we had 3 new Burbank police officers who graduated from the Sheriff's Academy class 467. Ross, you were there and shot their very first ever official Burbank police photos. So give us a little rundown.
Yeah, on that, I do some pictures for Burbank Police Department under contract. And I'll tell you, it was in Whittier. It was a long day for me. I leave about 2 o'clock. And I had stopped traffic from Burbank all the way to Whittier. And then once you get there. But we have 3 new Burbank officers. Jimmy Galligano, Anthony LeBruno, and Isaac Hall. And I'll tell you, the chief was busy, so he had a couple of, not stand-ins. He had his right-hand people. He had Adam Cornelis, who's the patrol captain, and Dennis Cremens, who's the investigations captain, and they handed him his flat badge. I got pictures of the first time I got to meet.
What's a flat badge for people who don't know?
Well, flat badge they keep in their pocket off duty. It's a same exact duplicate of their regular badge, but it's flattened.
So it fits in their wallet.
Yep.
There you go.
But it's the first time I got to work with Sheriff Luna. Very personable guy. They do an inspection before, and Chief Luna was the one that does their inspection. They check their gun, the class, everything. So that was pretty nice. Then we do some pictures. It was a long day, like I said. It didn't get
one
until 11.
One of your police commissioners actually came for the first time, huh?
Yes, you're right. Ramak, our Burbank police commissioner, Ramak Kabian, was the first time I've seen a police commissioner at a police graduation in probably 5 to 7 years. So it was kind of nice. He got to experience the pomp and circumstance, and he was included in a couple of pictures, and he got to meet these guys. So that was rather nice.
Well, you know what? That's good. Instead of getting a report done later at a meeting that they'll do nothing about, it's good for them to go experience it. So maybe if they do have questions about some of it, they'll have informed questions. So, I think a lot of our commissioners should be more involved in their own areas.
It's funny you say that. Romick and I talked the next day on Friday. I saw him, and both captains said to Romick, "You're one of the only police commissioners that is as active as you are. You're in the station, you do ride-alongs, you're involved, and they really appreciate having him there. And he's gathering information. I mean, what he got to learn the other day, the 2-hour drive, you're talking to two captains and he can share things. So it's nice to have him along."
Absolutely. Well, there was a little police activity, though, during the weekend. From what we understand, there was a barricaded suspect in the 900 block of East San Jose. Once again, we're not able to hear the calls anymore, so we couldn't, but we got bits and pieces. And what did you hear, Ross? Anything that you heard about that?
Well, yeah, what I heard, they requested Burbank Police and Fire to stand by to assist Burbank PD. Apparently, some details I did hear that the gentleman apparently was served some court papers, didn't want to leave the property, turned into a barricaded situation. When something like that happens, they probably closed off the street, maybe had the neighbors on both sides leave their places. But in the long run, they took him into custody without any shots fired or anything. I don't know. In fact, they canceled the police or paramedics, so they didn't have to treat him or anything. So, but when your neighborhood on a Saturday or a Sunday night comes down with several police officers with guns and all, and it turns into a barricaded situation, it changes things quite a bit.
We emailed the Burbank Police today to try to get information on it, and they were unable to provide information today, and hopefully by tomorrow they can send us some information. It's frustrating for us not to be able to get information to you right away, but we're at their mercy, and if they want to take a day or two to give us information, we'll put it out as soon as we can get it. So
that is so true.
Well, that's kind of it for last week. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back with you in a second.
How would you like your business advertised in this very spot? My Burbank Talks is looking for local businesses interested in a 30-second spot to appear in our podcasts. If you're interested, please email advertising@myburbank.com, and we'll be glad to discuss all of the exciting possibilities with you. Now, back to our podcast.
Okay, Craig Sheward here back with you along with Ross Benson. And, of course, the voice you just heard on our little commercial was Craig Drilling, who's off on assignment this week. So
I thought we were going to get him via Zoom.
We were trying to get him doing Zoom, but he had an urgent meeting to attend to tonight also. So we will have him back in studio next week, we hope.
We miss him and hope he's doing well tonight.
Absolutely. Well, today, being Monday, September 18th, a couple things. Number one, of course, I have to mention it because it's so important. Today was National Cheeseburger Day.
Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger.
And to me, that should be a national holiday. But anyhow, and I had a cheeseburger tonight as a tribute to the cheeseburger.
Well, I will say that we took a dinner break from the studio, ran over to a local restaurant that serves real good, and I think I saw on your burger cheddar cheese.
Cheddar cheese and avocado. What is a cheddar cheeseburger without avocado?
Well, I had a BLT that was very good and a salad with some balsamic and a lemonade, and boy, was it yummy. So.
And then we broke the rules and had some cherry pie a la mode for dessert because it just looked so damn good, and we deserved it. Besides, we put it on the company credit card.
That's right. That's right. Well, we talk business.
We talk business.
In fact, it's funny. We talked to two people there, gentlemen, that afterwards we talked about our podcast.
And they both knew about the mayor's situation.
They not only knew, but the guy said that he knew the mayor from years ago.
Yes.
So Mayor Constantine,
Yep.
you know,
His name is Vincent. He said he had classes with you before or something, so he wanted us to say hi. So giving a little shout out for him right now.
but that was, today National Cheeseburger Day.
But you know what's interesting about our little conversation with him is he started telling us stuff that wasn't true, because everybody has heard the story now, has heard from 4 different directions. So that's why it's important to listen to our podcast tomorrow. And it's called Issues. And let the mayor say exactly what happened. Listen out of his mouth, okay? Then if you have questions or you have comments, you're going to be an informed person at least. Okay.
Very, very true, Craig. That was the thing. That's what we wanted to do, was have him come in. He was free to say, and he answered all of our questions, but I think people might take a little different approach now when they look at the overall situation. I know after listening to tonight,
Yeah, and same with me. I'm 95% good with it now. There's still a 5% part of me that didn't get what I wanted, which you'll hear on the podcast.
right.
But I'm okay the rest of the way.
But guess what else was today?
Well, we had 2 meetings.
Oh.
We had 2 meetings at the same time.
2
city meetings at the same exact time, because they can't figure out how to either put them on at different times, different days, whatever it is, But we had to have 2 meetings at exactly the same time. So you had to pick your meeting. You could either pick the Sustainable Burbank Commission meeting or the Transportation Committee meeting, because both were started at 5:00.
Now, I know I'm dating myself. What commercial did they used to say two? Is it mints?
That was a gum.
Okay.
Double mint chewing gum.
Double mint chewing gum. Okay. Boy, am I dating myself.
I was
here.
never a gum person, but
Wow.
So on the Sustainable Burbank Commission, they met on their agenda. They talked about the pine tree removal, because that's coming up before City Council again. I guess they want them to weigh in on it. And they were talking about the draft they have for the single-use foodware, plastics, toxics, and litter reduction ordinance.
Boy, that's a
that the
mouthful.
City Council wants. To me, it looks to be very in an unenforceable situation in many ways. And well, I know the restaurants have weighed in, and they've listened to the restaurants, and the restaurants have no choice. They have to do something, they guess. So they're agreeing to some conditions, but when you look at this and look at how it could be enforced, I don't think it's going to be fair. I don't think it's going to be, unless surrounding cities do it, I just think Burbank is going to be behind the 8 ball, our restaurants. And I don't think it's a fair or enforceable ordinance, to tell you the truth.
Well, I do know I've talked to a couple of restaurant owners. And if you recall, several months ago, several of the restaurant owners, Portos, Talleyrand, Tequilas, Paquito Moss, all went to City Council. And this was trying to be shoved down their throat of what they wrote it as, and it wasn't going to work. Well, they've now met with, it's been 6 or 8 months. They've met, they've rewritten the ordinance with the help of the restaurant owners. I'm told in about another week, they're going to be getting together again with all the single-use plastics, and I'm told there's tons. It's going to fill up a conference room table, but it's progress. Yes, Burbank is ahead of other cities.
Okay, but I'll give you an example. Patties on the border of Burbank and LA.
Literally.
And if you order something from, let's say, Tequilas, or Tequilas that will have restrictions on what they have to do and how much they charge you for containers. Patties will have nothing. Yet I can have that food delivered in Burbank from Patties with no limits on it. But my food from a Burbank restaurant is going to cost me more for that for the containers. So, how are you going to stop? It's like right now, there's no Airbnbs allowed in Burbank. Can't do it. but yet they're all over the internet. Burbank doesn't even enforce that.
Right.
How are they going to enforce all these little plastic things and everything? How are they going to enforce it? It's not going to happen. And all the restaurants who are not in Burbank won't have to follow it and send their plastics into Burbank. I
think you made a good point there. Is who's going to be the plastic police?
Yeah.
And why is Burbank being looked at or being handled different? Food trucks or restaurants or so forth. It's kind of like we're going to talk toward the end of the show about this new bail schedule.
Yeah.
Which is just people are coming up with these laws and rules.
I still look at it this way. Whoever's really behind all this single-use plastic stuff in Burbank, probably not somebody who grew up in Burbank, probably somebody who doesn't live in Burbank, somebody who's probably just working for the city and has idealistic, which is, and I'm not saying that this is not an issue that needs to be addressed down the line. But when one city only addresses it and not the entire state, it's not fair, and it's probably going to be just another ordinance on the books that's never enforced, And like you said, there's going to be no plastic police out there going around and making sure everybody's little plastic cup is paid for, or on a table, or if it's a reusable thing on a table. And what's going to happen to the fast food restaurants? I
got a question for you. Your Sustainable Burbank Commission.
Yeah, which I do love the commission.
Right now, they'd probably love to come over here and slap you.
They probably would. They probably would. But I'm sorry. I'm all for that. That type of planet saving stuff. But Burbank shouldn't be singled out, and Burbank businesses shouldn't be singled out, where it's an unfair advantage to them.
Well, I do know that it came down from Sacramento. They have dates. They have certain times that they have to have it done.
So why is it not a state law?
Well, I believe that's what they're trying to get Burbank up to.
No, I don't think because these rules aren't applying in other cities.
Well, there's rules that came down.
When you sign up, when you have a what do you call a proposition, okay, and it passes. It starts on January 1st and starts for the whole state.
Right.
So why don't we have this law starting on January 1st for the whole state?
Well, that's a good question. I do know that Ashley did a podcast with Amy Ham from the Recycle Center.
Right.
And I remember her saying some dates and times, and I've talked to her several times. I get it, folks. Yeah. We need to start somewhere.
Yeah, nobody's disagreeing with that. But I just think Burbank restaurants are being unfairly burdened on this right now. And until they have an equal playing field with everybody else, that's like, in baseball, you tell one team, you know what? You can't steal bases, but they can. Not fair. Well, we're going to put a rule in next year. Nobody can steal bases, but right now, you just can't steal them this year. Not fair. It's got to be one set of rules for everybody. One set of fair playing rules for and restaurants who are already seeing that their profits going, at 5% are going to see them probably even go lower. It's just, this is one more thing to kill restaurants.
And that is the sad part, is the toll that it's taking. I've talked to these restaurant owners, and it's not just one vendor. It's like they got to deal with a ton of vendors, got to change all their, stock that they have on hand. You can't just throw it away.
Like I say, the restaurants like McDonald's or Wendy's or Jack in the Box, if you have seating, you can't give out plastic spoons and forks. If you have seating inside, you have to provide reusable. Now you have to start hiring dishwashers at McDonald's.
Well, did you see what McDonald's said the other day?
What'd they have to say?
They're getting rid of their Coke machines.
I did see that.
They're also getting away from you walk up to the counter and get your food. It will be served to you.
Right.
All within 10 years. Boy.
Yeah, that's... Don't hold your breath, because you will turn blue.
Exactly. So it will be... I know we have been invited to go to this next recyclable or sustainable plastics event, and it'll be interesting what walk away from there.
I might even try to attend that myself.
It's early in the morning.
Oh, well.
But there will be some food.
I do have an alarm clock. I just, Alexa will hopefully be nice to me. And Wake me
What
up.
other meeting was today?
Well, we had the Transportation Commission. They also decided to meet at the same exact time, the same exact building. So you just had to run back and forth if you wanted to hear. They're talking about the 2020 citywide complete streets plan, and they want to get a dashboard put together to convey the progress on the city's complete streets goals and policies.
Well, don't forget now. I don't want people to tell me they didn't know that they're going to put a medium right down Magnolia Boulevard.
I think they're talking about downtown Burbank right now.
Well, did it? I thought it said
I think they're talking
citywide.
I think they're talking about downtown. It's citywide complete streets plan.
Citywide means citywide.
Right.
They've already decided on the mall or San Fernando Boulevard.
Right.
Going northbound.
Right.
That's done. Now we're talking to other parts of the city. So I think
Magnolia will be one lane of traffic on each side, like Verdugo is. But instead of having a bike lane on the outside, they'll have a medium on the inside, like Chandler.
correct.
So,
And how many years did I hear? Why don't they make Chandler eastbound on one side, westbound on the other?
the long-time residents don't want that.
You're right.
It's only the newer residents who want it like North Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's the way it is in North Hollywood. But long-time residents in Burbank, and I agree with them. All of a sudden now you're locked in only going one way. You're going to come in one way then on that street. So, I mean, it works fine the way it is.
We don't have a ton of streets that are, one direction or the other, but I do remember a lot of people won't. Was it Front Street or was it First Street that was a single direction? A lot of people don't remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Ran along the freeway.
I think it was First Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was. So, we've gone through all these changes before, and
then we get a new traffic engineer, and we'll go through different changes again. Look at the guy a few years ago came in and all of a sudden decided, let's put blinking yellow lights in our intersections.
he's not here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Come into the city. You don't live here. You don't have any, you work here for a couple of years. You're going to change our city, and then you're going to leave. I love these people. I love these city people with no investment in the city who want to come in and do things in their vision. And then once the dumpster's on fire, they run for their lives.
No, they retire and collect their pension.
Yes, they do.
But there is one thing I did hear today.
Yeah, I heard about grants to help restaurants. What did you hear about that?
Sitting on the Magnolia Park Merchants Board, we were asked to spread the word to some of the restaurants and so forth. Right now, restaurants are hurting really, really bad because of the strikes. And I'm told that there's grants available to restaurants that have been affected.
Are they by the county or by the state?
I'm not sure. I believe they're being, that's why I put here, it's either through the Burbank Chamber or Burbank Economic Development Department. But if you're a restaurant and you have been,
adversely affected by if you can show a lack of,
customers.
Your receipts are down 25% from last year at the same time. That's a hit.
And I'm told these are $10,000 grants that do not have to be repaid. So if you're a restaurant owner, and we're just trying to spread the word here, take 5 minutes tomorrow and make a phone call, because that $10,000 can help you out with a lot of things that, so.
There are times that city government does work for people, and I know during COVID, we got a grant at my Burbank from Burbank Development, to help us.
We lost advertisers. We
lost a lot, but they kept, and we kept all of our writers on.
Yep.
We even kept our photographer on.
Oh, that's right. We did.
That's right.
So moving on
to tomorrow, September 19th, the council is dark. Probably a good thing. I just think, we do need another week to kind of catch our breath, and we'll see what comes back. We talked to the mayor about council members Zette Mullins' motion to put something on the agenda about the mayor's conduct. So,
that'll be the following week.
I'm sure that'll be the following week, and we'll talk about that when it comes up and how it went.
And then you also have another dark meeting.
Yes, the police commission is going dark on Wednesday, which means no meeting. So we're going to have 2 meetings at 5:00 tonight, and then that's it until until Thursday.
Well, I do
And
know.
even on Thursday, there's no more meetings. So that's it. 2 meetings this week, both at exactly the same time.
The reason I do know that the police commission is dark next week is because Tuesday they're meeting with the council, with the independent company that they hire, and to go through all that reports and so forth.
Ah,
Why they took the week off.
sounds like they may be getting a phone call from My Burbank that night. We'll be
We will.
We
yeah, there you
will.
go.
We'll let you know because there are shenanigans going on right now, which we're not very happy about.
That's very true. What's going on Thursday?
Thursday morning, once again, morning. There's still only one digit on the clock, not even two yet at 10, but at 9 o'clock, a single digit. Burbank's economic development team wants to invite people to a community meeting to find out more about what economic development does and hear the public suggestions as the city of Burbank develops a 5-year economic development strategy plan. So they want all the business and property owners, and you know what? Business property, just citizens of Burbank. Join them. And they want to have a discussion and give input. And they're getting input of the future of downtown Burbank. So that's going to be on Thursday, September 21st at 9 a.m. at the Community Services Building. But here is the catch. Here's the thing that's going to motivate you to get up and get over there. Refreshments will be served.
I bet you'll see fresh Portos.
Well, let's hope. I got completely off the subject. I went to a friend's birthday celebration over the weekend.
Did you get to wear one of those little hats?
No, I didn't wear the hat. No. They had Mylar balloons they wanted to release in the air, though, and I told them not to because of what happens with Mylar balloons. But one of them stopped by. I guess there's a Portos out in Granada Hills,
Yep.
And they picked up a Portos cheesecake. And without a doubt, and I'm not a big Portos fan. I've never understood why people want to wait half an hour in line on Hollywood Way to go in and get a pastry or a sandwich. To me, I don't get that. But I think I would stand in that line half an hour to get that cheesecake. Probably the best cheesecake I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely melted in my mouth.
Well, now I know what to get. I know Betty Porto quite well. And I'm going to ask Betty next time we have our staff get together and staff meeting. I'm going to have Betty cook us up one of those cheesecakes.
I'll autograph it too. It was outstanding.
Well,
I'm not a big Portos fan. I've never had. I think it's good food, but I don't get any time you have to wait in a long line to get anything.
I will say I had heard that the city hired a consultant to start formulating and talking to people about some economic things down the road. And this is their way of getting people together as a kind of a task force or whatever to start that ball rolling. So
it's another outside company, though. That's what another outside
Yes.
consulting company.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a lot of those outside consulting companies. I just don't think they get what Burbank is. I know we had problems with the Burbank Media Master Plan with them. They didn't understand how the studios worked. They didn't understand how the neighborhood worked, and they're trying to lump us in with every other neighborhood in L.A. about how we should do things. I'm saying that's not how it works here. Not how it works here. But we'll see what comes of that whole thing. I think it's been a waste of money and resources, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. Moving on to the weekend. Next weekend. We're going to have the return of Pride in the Park, and this time the Pride will be in the park. They've moved from Magnolia Park, which is really not a park, people. There's no slides and swings. And they're going to go to McCambridge Park, which actually is a park with swings and slides. I don't know, they have a slide there? Yeah, I have a slide there. So they'll have Pride in the Park this coming weekend at McCambridge Park from 12 to 6. And, we invite everybody to go by and enjoy the festivities.
Yeah, we got an email. I don't know if you got through your email today from Madison Jones, or Madison Jones was her maiden name. that they moved the event. It was kind of scheduled for Magnolia Park. They're now going to be up at McCambridge Park. Got a lot of events going on. 12 to 6. It's in a real park. Magnolia is a district. So I think we're going to get sent a press release tomorrow or the next day that will probably run of
what's going to happen there, and maybe the schedule of events.
Yep.
They'll have some. Are they doing a stage? Maybe a stage with some, singing.
That's what they did before. They had some dancing and some.
That's a good place for it. It should be. It belongs in a park and not in the. Because we talked last week about having it on closing Magnolia Boulevard and having those businesses lose their potential revenue when people can't drive up to their business. It's just really not a place. It had nothing to do with businesses. So I think having it in a park is a more appropriate venue for it.
Well, the city management, police chief, parks, the public works director, the city manager, assistant city manager sat down, thought about it, and for all reasons, they decided it's better to have it up at McCambridge Park, which it is. A lot more parking. Other events.
And logistically, too, you have to worry about barricades in all the streets
Right.
and tons of police officers and everybody. It just makes it's a lot easier, a lot simpler.
Yeah, and it was not changed by one person from a survey of Magnolia Park businesses. This was done by city management and the organizers. So
There was a better mousetrap this time. They actually put it together.
that's right.
Well, we don't have a lot more, but before we get into Ross's rant, which this week we have a very good rant for you and a very serious subject, we want to thank we want to do a little plug and a little thank you. We're going to work this. In fact, we said now this next week we are going to do our first of our Burbank Closed Restaurants podcast and talk about restaurants of the past. We're going to call it, I guess, Burbank of the past. And this will be the first of our restaurant editions. We do a couple because there's so many restaurants. But we want to thank Robert K., who sent us an email, helping us out with a couple of restaurants that are gone, such as Harry's. And his note was great omelets and entrees, and it came with soup and salad. You know what? That's true. Soup and salad. Everyone's giving one or the other. I think Lancer's usually soup and salad still too.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
You're right.
And a little dessert.
Yep. And then he also had another.
The Buchanan Arms.
And people might remember that up at 3rd and Palm.
Right. And that was true British food and a unique store. He talked about Kenny Rogers Roasters, which was now at where the Wiener Schnitzel is now. Right?
Nope.
No.
Kenny Rogers Roast. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of Broasted Chicken.
Oh.
It was on Magnolia in California in that little tiny shopping center.
Yeah, I think Kenny Rogers Roasters was at the old at the Wiener Schnitzel, and then it became something else after. See, now what's good? We'll have to put our thinking caps on because it was something else for a long time, and then became Wiener Schnitzel.
But his note continued on.
He talked about Papoose Hot Dog Show.
I like how he put it. Everything Hill Street Cafe used to be.
Yeah, right.
And he made a point. You remember when it was Caro's?
I do. I remember it was the original Bob's Big Boy.
Right.
Originally.
Right.
We used to have 3 Bob's Big Boys in Burbank there, and on San Fernando, and we think around Providencia in that area. And now the one that's still here, that's the oldest Bob's in the nation, down here on Riverside Drive.
And the other great place
Marie Calendar Pies. That was
on San Fernando, and the one here
back in the park. Yeah.
Well, I put on our notes.
I think there was one in Glendale. I'm not sure if it's still there or not.
Nope,
but there was one in Sherman Oaks. I know that's gone.
That's gone, and the one on Pacific is gone too.
Yeah, so I guess you have to go to your frozen food department and get a Marie Calendar's pie or something.
No, I've talked to somebody, I think out east. There are still some. But, I made a note. It's funny. When for some of us old timers here in Burbank, we remember just walking by a restaurant, like walking by Barron's. You could smell
Oh,
pancakes.
absolutely.
You know, I remember when you and I took you for the first time to Tommy's, the original
Yeah, I
Tommy's.
always went to the Tommy's up on San Fernando. I thought, okay, that's Tommy's there. I had no idea what the
Yeah.
OG Tommy's really was until you took me down there on Rampart that one time.
Well, we went there. There were no
What-
shootings, which was
What an
surprising.
education.
There were no shootings. I have been there when there were shots fired. I've been there after shots fired. But it's like Tommy's.
It's 24 hours a day, and there's
I don't
two
know if they are.
locations. Oh yeah,
Are they
there's two
still?
locations. One on the corner, a shack, and then a building in the same parking lot. And when the shack runs out of food, they open the main area on the parking lot, and they serve out of there until they can restock the shack again. And there's always a line. And I remember we parked across the street in one of their parking lots, and we went over there with our food, and we ate it on the hood of your car, and then suddenly one of the local characters came by, and man looked like a little bit hungry, and I watched him reach into the one trash can and pull out a half-eaten burger, and he kind of had a smile on his face. Walked to the next trash can, found some extra chili, threw that on the burger, and enjoyed what was left of that. And I looked at my burger and I said, you know what? My burger still tastes good anyway. I'm okay with it, So it was interesting to see what goes on outside of Burbank sometimes. Get your education.
Well, I remember the following year, we stopped at that same Tommy's, and that guy was still alive and still getting his lunch from each trash can.
So see that, people? All your food really does not go to waste.
Well, we're going to compile this list. People keep calling me and telling me places. It blows me away how many restaurants we've had in Burbank. So
yeah, and that are gone now, and they were staples. But once again, that's why I worry about the restaurants and the sustainability thing, and only in Burbank, because when you see how many restaurants have come and gone in Burbank, what will this ordinance do to restaurants now barely holding on, especially in the strike and everything else? If they do pass this, the council does pass this, don't pass it until the strike is over for a month or two, so these restaurants have a chance to get back on their feet first. But that's... Anyhow, let's get on to the most important part of our show, Ross's rant. And this week, your rant, well, it's not a Burbank-only issue. It's a huge issue that does affect Burbank. And it's all about the new bail schedule that the L.A. County, what's his name, Gascon?
no, Superior Court.
Superior Court, well, is this with Gascon's office, though? It isn't.
Right.
Right. I mean, he's probably behind it as much as anybody else. And
The press release that went out is on July 18th, Superior Court of Los Angeles approved a new set of bail schedules for suspects arrested in nonviolent felony misdemeanor crimes. You know what? They get a ticket and they walk away.
yeah, I understand the basis of having, I've heard of people who've gotten arrested and their bail's $500 and they don't have the five, and they sit in jail 2, 3, 4 weeks, even a month, or 2, 3 months. They get their court hearing, they're found guilty, and they're sentenced to 1 day after being in jail for 3 months. And I understand there are people like that, but the problem is, this is for just about every crime, no matter what your financial background is, and it is not going to stop people's behavior.
Well, the press release goes on to say anybody could look at this press release. That's what kind of gets me. It was put on the Burbank Police Department media page or news events. They didn't send anything out about it. I've seen this several different places.
You know what? Let's put it on we'll put it on our site tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
We'll put it on our site tomorrow so people can see what we're talking about here.
I just want people to know that as a result of these new terms, law enforcement must cite and release or book and release arrestees on all theft offenses, vehicle code violations, and crimes against property. So if somebody breaks your window, steals stuff from your business, the police are not going to arrest them.
Yeah, basically, you own these mob break-ins at a store in the middle of the night. That's just a burglary.
Yep.
That's not a
Cite and release.
not a crime against a person. So they'll cite them, they'll release them, they'll go somewhere else and do it again.
Now, the only time that this is different is if dealing with elders, minors, some sexual battery crimes. Those will be decided by a magistrate. But everything else, so when you go and you shop at Target and you see 3 police cars there now, they're there because somebody stole something, but you're not going to be seeing somebody in the back of that police car.
No.
Going to Burbank.
And one of my big things also, which I for years I've always been against, these businesses that call the police and say, I just had, a jacket stolen or whatever it is stolen. And the cops go out there and they have 4 or 5 units go out and they're tracking the person down and they do catch them. And they come back and they go, oh, no, we don't want to prosecute them. We just give us our jacket back. Guys, that's not what the Burbank Police Department's job is chase your jacket. If you're going to call the police, and they catch the person, then you need to press charges. Because if not, I mean, you're never going to get any, they'll just keep doing it over and over again. They'll
I have
laugh at you.
heard when we could hear months ago.
Yeah, when we could hear.
Calls at 7-Elevens in town for a bottle of soda and a pack of gum coming to $2 or $3. And the police desk would ask,
Do you want to prosecute?
Do you want to prosecute? And most of them, some of those for $3 would say yes. The rest of them, no, just get us our...
Yeah, get us our stuff back. That's your job. Go chase down people and get our stuff back for us. We don't take us, out of our comfort zone and make us actually go press charges or do something. Just get us our stuff back. That's that's not the job of the police. The police department is to enforce laws, not to be your personal servants, not to be chasing their tail for you. I mean, they do enough community service as it is.
That's right. Well, that was the week that was. The week that will be. We had a lot of stuff that we didn't even know we were going to have.
Nope,
and
we never do.
And I'll tell you, that lemonade is rolling quickly.
It is. It is.
It is.
So that's it for another week. Hopefully we'll have our Craig Drilling back in the studio next week with us. A short show for a change, but you know what? Good information. Make sure once again tomorrow on the 19th to tune in on your favorite platform and listen to our podcast with the mayor. So for Ross Benson, this is Craig Sherwood saying we will see you next week.
My Burbank Talks would like to thank all of My Burbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, UME Credit Union, the Burbank Chamber of Commerce, Gain Credit Union, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, UCLA Health, Tequila's Cantina and Grill, UPS Store on 3rd Street, and Hill Street Cafe.